Hare Krishna. Today we're going to be celebrating Govardhan Puja. Don't get too excited. Hare Krishna. And I requested to have a little time so I can give class, especially since I started preparing for it. And we were also requested to first speak for 15 minutes on a topic regarding Srila Prabhupada, which was Prabhupada's, how did they phrase it? Expert transcendental scholar. I think most devotees know the pastime. I'll speak from that briefly, and then we'll chant this verse and look at it as it is. It is one of, it's Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the most prominent verse that praises Govardhan Hill and Govardhan's Hill's service to Krishna and Balaram. And it's especially notable because it was spoken by Srimati Radharani. Although, anyway, we'll talk about that. Although the Bhagavatam doesn't mention which gopi spoke it, but acharyas have. Did someone say louder? Okay, well, that sounds very... okay, is that any louder? Okay, of course I can't lean back. Instead the pillow's leaning on me. So, let's start chanting a little Haramadhava, in which Thakur Bhaktivinoda reminds us, Girivaradhari, lifter of Govardhan Hill, and then we'll move on. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Vanadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Vanadhari Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Girivanadhari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Ramana Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupat Paramahamsa Tarvakacharya Ashtektar Sata Shishimada Charana Arvinda Bhaktiranta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupat Paramahamsa Shishimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Thakur Bhakti Vinod Ki Jai Shri Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namachari Shri Das Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sakho Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivaswari Gaura Bhaktaninda Ki Jai Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Govardhan Puja Ki Jai Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadnipam Ki Jai Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai Jai Shri Nisringadeva Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhavasta Sakhi Vrinda Ki Jai Janitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Nirupadi Karunena, Sri Satchinandanena, Tvaikapati Satopi, Tatprena Arpitosme, Iti Kalumaba Jogya Jogatam Tamagrinam, Nija Nikatanivasham, Dehi Govardhanastam. We're going to be observing Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day in a few days on Friday. It's on Friday here too, right? Yes. I go by the European calendar, and who knows what the differences are. And Srila Prabhupada is a transcendental scholar. I don't know, I'm not so... Obviously the word scholar is needed to clarify what we're talking about, but for me, scholar implies one of those people sitting in the universities, overseeing PhD students and writing dissertations, who knows, about Rupa Goswami, and doesn't even believe in Krishna. But yes, Srila Prabhupada is certainly a transcendental scholar, a different type of transcendental scholar. I really have the opportunity of examining Srila Prabhupada's books in different ways. When I was a young devotee, we used to read Srila Prabhupada's books avidly, sometimes like trying to go through them in a year. Chaitanya Charitamrita Bhagavatam goes. But reading Prabhupada's books is not as effective as, well, the best thing is to hear and to actually study. Since I've been writing books, which is, I don't know how long, 1990 or something like that. Of course, my first research is always Srila Prabhupada, and there's this very wonderful tool that we have, which is the folio. We have a database, Srila Prabhupada's books, not just Prabhupada's books, but Prabhupada's classes and everything Prabhupada wrote and said. It's a fantastic tool. And of course I have a database that, well, I have a very exclusive database that only me, Niranjan Maharaj, and one other person has. And it has thousands of books. And mostly the really important ones are by our acharyas, specifically Goswamis, and their followers, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, and of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So when I'm writing on a topic, and of course the first port of call is Srila Prabhupada. But I approach Srila Prabhupada's books by topic, as opposed to sort of just reading pages one after the other. It's a different approach. Unfortunately, I haven't had the luxury of really reading Prabhupada's books for quite a long time, but to study them according to topics, and then, I don't know, look for something like, what does Prabhupada say about what is a Dham? What is Sri Dham Mayapur? So, then you start searching folio, and there's a lot there. So that means you have to take out, you read them all, what Prabhupada said on Dham, and they may be hundreds of things, and you take out the relevant ones, you just take out one out of the things that Srila Prabhupada repeated, and you correlate those and put them all together. And they really come together very, very amazingly. They come together in this whole picture that is quite extraordinary. And when I then go to acharyas, especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, at the end, Srila Prabhupada, when he was doing translation in his very infirm condition, he just said, just read Vishwanath. And Prabhupada would then comment on that. So you see that up until chapter 14 of the 10th canto. And which shows the importance that Srila Prabhupada placed on his books, a message that he really wanted to leave behind for his, not just disciples, but followers. Prabhupada looked beyond his immediate disciples, and he was establishing a movement for the next 10,000 years. Anyway, because when you're in that condition, when you're laying there, and all you can do is whisper. You can't even talk the way I'm talking, and say I'm only 5 years younger than Srila Prabhupada was at that stage. And it's extremely difficult. It's very inconvenient. Still, Srila Prabhupada did that, and he wanted things filmed. He wanted devotees to see. So you can see that when you watch the final lesson. In the beginning, I didn't want to see it when it came out, but now I watch it every year. Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. It's a good reminder of many things. So when I go into what the acharyas say, then you see that Srila Prabhupada, of course, Prabhupada he had them in front of him, and Srila Prabhupada would read them, prominent acharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Jiva Goswami, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Sanatana Goswami, prominent commentators. And the things that they say, Prabhupada just took all of that, and sometimes very, very scholarly things, especially from Jiva Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, of course. That was part of his transcendental scholarship, is to make those complex things very easily understood. And Prabhupada did that. Even his method of translation was that he was translating for meaning, which scholars don't exactly like. As Prabhupada just started to, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti, Kabe Havasi Bhaja Jugula Piriti. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti. Akuti, Prabhupada, more often than not, just translates the books of the Goswamis. He says, by reading the books of the Goswamis, one can then, Rupa and Raghunath Goswami, one can understand the nature of Radha Krishna's conjugal pastimes. Only by Akuti, it doesn't translate into books, but that's the essence. And Srila Prabhupada is presenting the essence, and very often he really flushes things out in such a beautiful way. So one of the things is Prabhupada's reference and bringing together the essence of the things that our acharyas say, which is that he is both faithful to the acharyas, and at the same time he's presenting what they say in our language, in our way of understanding things in a very contemporary context. The other point is that then he presents it so that the man on the street, now this is an English term, says the man on the street, but actually when we're talking about our book distribution and who got the books, they were the man and the woman on the street. They were the ones who got Srila Prabhupada's books. And these were people who, didn't step out of their front door thinking that, well, today I'm going to buy a Srimad Bhagavatam, or I'm going to buy a whole set of Srimad Bhagavatams. I don't even know what Srimad Bhagavatam is. But when they read Srila Prabhupada's books, well, look around, here we are. So we are the men on the street, and how many devotees got books on the street? Nobody got books on the street, and we all got books on the street. And where did he get books if he didn't get them on the street? Came to the temple. But anyway, the man on the street could understand. And even if we weren't on the street, still we weren't philosophy. Who studied philosophy in school? We have a few people. It was the last thing on my mind. I never read a book on philosophy. And so it became a little hard going in the beginning to just adjust to what to speak of Sanskrit terms and Sanskrit language. Dhritarashtra Vacha. Dhritarashtra said, who's Dhritarashtra? But you got to know, you got to find out in due course of time. And I remember when I was first reading Bhagavad Gita, I was reading the introduction, and Prabhupada wants to prove a point in the Bhagavad Gita by quoting the Bhagavad Gita. That much I understood about philosophy. This is called circular reasoning. But it works because Bhagavad Gita is apurusheya. It is transcendental literature. Nothing else necessarily can verify it. Maybe other transcendental literature, but they're self-evident, self-proving texts. And Prabhupada wrote beautifully. He wrote in a very, very charming way that was, from the literary point of view, so attractive. In the beginning, we didn't have Chaitanya Charitamrita. We had the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And there's some parts of that teachings of Lord Chaitanya which was like Krishna book, a summary study of Chaitanya Charitamrita, whereas Krishna book was a summary study of the 10th canto. So just like Krishna book is more Srila Prabhupada, well, of course, we don't have, as I mentioned, only up to chapter 14, so we've got the next 76 chapters that were translated and commented on by his followers. Sometimes not enough commentary, but still different. And teachings of Lord Chaitanya was also like that. There was Srila Prabhupada really, yes, just Prakashananda Saraswati and the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So these philosophical discussions, Rup Sanatan, these were the main content. And I remember reading when Lord Chaitanya speaking about the sweetness and opulence of Krishna and talking about the gopis just like a string of pearls around Krishna's neck. So it was so beautiful that in itself is also very captivating. And of course, I need to stop and go on. It could go on forever. And in one sense, the praise of Srila Prabhupada's writing, this is my mission. Srimad Bhagavatam is mission. So much so that Prabhupada set up an entirely separate institution, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. Sometimes he said, if for some reason ISKCON fails, but the book publication, book production will be there and it can go on. Or if there's some kind of complex legal entanglement that ties up or completely stops ISKCON's functioning in a certain way. So Prabhupada really took this very seriously, and those of us who were there during Srila Prabhupada's time knew how much emphasis Prabhupada would place on distributing his books and publishing them. He didn't want it to slow down, and he really expected a lot. Probably the best example of that was the production of entire Chaitanya Charitamrita in 2 months. I wasn't involved. For me, I was up in Canada in a place called Winnipeg, where nothing lives for like 1,000 miles all around. And it gets down to 70 below zero. We made the headlines in every newspaper, Sankirtan devotees going out, 2 pairs of boots, 2 pairs of mittens. It is cold. And Srila Prabhupada placed so much emphasis, and we really went to the beat of that drum that Prabhupada was racing with time. I'll just say one more thing in relationship to that. Bhavananda Prabhu had mentioned that when he was in Los Angeles once, him and Upendra was with Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada called him. Everyone else had gone out on Harinam. And Srila Prabhupada was just sitting back on his bolsters. And you see him sometimes in the videos, he's playing with the tassels on the side of the bolster. And Srila Prabhupada said, I was with Krishna, and he said, I want you to go there, and I want you to write books. And Prabhupada said, I don't want to go there. It's a horrible place. So this sort of argument, transcendental argument, Prabhupada said went on between Prabhupada and Krishna. No, you please go. It's a horrible place. Don't make me go there. So then Prabhupada said, but then he said, no, you write the books. When you finish writing the books, you come back. And I'll take care of everything. I'll make sure you have everything. So Prabhupada came. And that was a real explicit admission on Srila Prabhupada's part that he was sent here with a specific mission, and Krishna wanted that mission to write the books. And he did so beautifully, so expertly, so easily understandable. And what's the result? I mean, Bhagavatam was not the Chaitanya Charitamrita really existed in the Western world in English language, or I believe in any other language. So in that sense, Srila Prabhupada was the first, but Srimad Bhagavatam existed in India for 5,000 years, and translated in many languages. Bhagavad Gita was well known. What to speak of, the different settlers who came here, not really settlers, but exploiters who came from the Portuguese to the English and the German to India for spices and so many other things. Of course, they wanted more than just spices, but spices was money at a certain point. Cardamom seeds was currency. And they all came across Shankaracharya's understanding, Mayavad, interpretation of Vedic literature, Vedanta Sutra, and that's what they took back to be Vedic culture, considering the Indian people very sort of backward and primitive, and then of course who needed a lot of conversion to Christianity. Bhagavad Gita there was tons of, but how many people became devotees? The whole point of all of these is Mami Kam Sharanam Braja. You surrender to me. So who surrendered to Krishna reading Bhagavad Gita? Prior to Srila Prabhupada, nobody. But here we have this entire Krishna consciousness movement, which is a show of Prabhupada's transcendental potency. Last night I just wrote a letter to one devotee who sort of getting distracted by a Vrindavan Babaji. And I said, I'm not going to write about philosophy. And their idea is that Prabhupada didn't give, this is like a typical mantra that they have out there, that Prabhupada didn't give us everything, and that you can't attain Braja Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, and go back to Godhead because we're practitioners of Vaidhi Bhakti and we're going to Vaikuntha. So of course the first thing I said, and this person is born in ISKCON, I asked, do you think that Prabhupada was lying when he said, the path that I'm giving you will take you back home and give you the topmost perfection? And how could you Prabhupada was just cheating everybody? But anyway, philosophy aside, what did Srila Prabhupada do? Just look at Prabhupada's empowerment. In a period of 12 years, what Srila Prabhupada was able to achieve. And I'm not going to list all the things, all the things that Srila Prabhupada did. He said, who compares? What did your Babaji do? Did he ever do anything? Why? Why doesn't he have that empowerment to actually do what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted? Pritiviti yachi yatra nagaradi gram. So why isn't he going to every town and village like Prabhupada did? single-handedly. So you can tell, we may not know, we may not see, unless someone becomes very advanced and recognizes Prabhupada's internal identity, potency, and so on. But you can infer Srila Prabhupada's inner empowerment by what he achieved externally. So you can compare that to the empowerment of other so-called competitors who, in the words of one devotee, who live by licking off Prabhupada's plate. Well, his term was like a dog licking off Prabhupada's plate. So, when you finish eating, they throw out the banana leaves and the dogs are all there and they come and they lick up whatever remnants are there. Okay, I don't want to deprecate anybody, but no one compares. And there may be many, many scholars, but what scholar is going to produce hundreds of thousands, millions of devotees of Krishna and put into motion a mechanism that continues to do that on into the future? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let me just briefly speak about Govardhan Puja. Sometimes devotees say the appearance of Govardhan Hill. I mean, it's not the appearance. Govardhan Hill was there for a long, long time. It didn't appear now. In fact, just like Vrindavan and everything in Vrindavan, it's all eternal. What we see is one thing, and then what's there, that's another thing. Jiva Goswami points out in the Krishna Sandarbha that when Krishna comes to this planet, he brings the spiritual world with him. So at Krishna's appearance, then all of anyone who came to Vrindavan saw Vrindavan like in the spiritual world, like Goloka. Unless they were specifically covered, some particular purpose, but it was the same Chintamani, Prakarasadma, Sukalpa, Vriksha, and so on. So it was very, very wonderful. Then he says, when Krishna leaves, Krishna is Swadharma Bhagati, Dharma Jnana Dabhisaha. So when Krishna leaves the planet, then the dam becomes covered, or Krishna covers it by his Antaranga Shakti. And if you also look that up in folio, you'll find that mentioned once in relationship to Lord Brahma. And he explains that this Antaranga Shakti is a potency that demigods have by which they become invisible. So, similarly, Krishna made the Dham invisible, and then what remains is the material facsimile. But the two are there. The uppercut Dham, as it's called, is present there. It was prakat. Aprakat means that it's unmanifest, and prakat means that it's manifest. So the prakat Dham was here when Krishna was here, then it became aprakat, dishtavan, and then there's what you see. But as the English saying goes, there's more to this than what meets the eye. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also is explaining about Sridham Mayapur. He's quoting Lord Nityananda, how Mayapur, the transcendental uppercut Mayapur, which is same Navadvip that exists in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. Part of that is also Lord Chaitanya's abode, eternal abode. So that's also here, but it's covered by a thin film, Proto-Maya, or Durga Devi, Maya Devi, covers that spiritual potency. And so we walk on this film of material energy, and the material manifestation, even that's not material, it's spiritual, manifests what we see. Our perception gives us another view of what Sridham Mayapur is. So Govardhan Hill was always there. And of course, you know that Krishna saw the Brijbasis, specifically the men. They were preparing. This was not far away from where Bhartror, this is not far away from where the Yogic Brahmins lived, sort of getting towards the edge of Vrindavan, going towards Mathura. And they were performing this yagya and collecting ingredients to please Indra. And Krishna is a sweet talker, so he can talk anyone into anything, just like he talked us into, becoming devotees. Wasn't on my itinerary either, but that's what happened. And he, as a little boy of 7 years old, he sweet-talked his father into taking all the ingredients and making an offering to Govardhan Hill. I mean, it's one thing if you said, okay, let's not offer it to Indra, let's offer it to Brahma, let's offer it to Lord Vishnu. But here's Govardhan Hill. Govardhan Hill had not until this time manifest his personality, had spoken to the Brijbasis explicitly. So that's really a extraordinary call that now we're going to worship a mountain. Worship Govardhan Hill. Why should we worship Govardhan Hill? Because it's providing us with the grasses, as you see here, and that feeds our cows, and our cows therefore provide us with milk, and we're cowherdmen, so we subsist on milk, so we're dependent on Govardhan Hill. No. Actually, but what will Govardhan Hill do if Indra doesn't provide rain? Well, Indra's got nothing to do with this. Then it starts talking about karma kanda. Indra's duty bound. This is he has to do it. What's the point of Indra if he doesn't make it rain? So he's got to do it, and that's his obligation. And the important thing is Govardhan Hill, so we should worship. And then they went to what is now known as Anior, and that's where the offerings were made. Because first Krishna had them worship cows, calves, bulls. He did that worship himself personally. And then after that, they worshipped the Brahmanas, and they made this huge offering, which if I'm sure many of you have done. Who's done Govardhan Parikrama? Well, everybody's, gentlemen have, ladies seems like they're, and I don't mean going around in a rickshaw or a car. barefoot. Okay, it's horrible what they've done, especially on the south side, building a highway. I remember when I used to sometimes go by myself back in the 70s, and I was walking and I thought, this is just like Krishna book. It was beautiful sandy path. Of course, they have thorns on that sandy path, but beautiful sandy path all around, quiet, hardly any people. It was so nice. It was sort of a different. Vrindavan Parikrama was also the same. It was like that, and of course, at Govardhan there was nothing. Between Govardhan town, there was the Bhaktivedanta ashram, and then until Punchari, there was nothing. Not like now, golf courses and other things like that. So they came there, and the offering stretched all the way from Punchar, all the way from Anayor, and then going in a sort of a northeast direction towards Manasiganga. So that's quite a distance. That's for about 3 kilometers. So that's a big offering. I've seen not similar offerings, but in Vrindavan, where the deity is sort of brought out in the front part of the temple, and there's offerings that are made in the street, and it just like goes on and on and on for like 100 meters. All you have is offerings. It's really wonderful. So, and of course, Indra and then they went around. Of course, Krishna he manifests his giant form on top. No one could identify that was actually him. Many-armed form, four-armed, sometimes it says more-armed, and he was just eating everything. Personally, they saw, and then that form asked the Brijbasis to go around, and they did go around. And that's what happened today. And then next day is Bhartra Dvitiya, and 2 days after, or 3 days after, that's when Indra, the news got to Indra, because our time and their time is different. So a couple of minutes there takes a couple of days over here. So by the time he got news, and then they started this unbelievable inundation. And the Brijbasis were already back in their homes. So, but they came running out of their homes to where Krishna was, and they asked for Krishna for protection. And then Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill. Now, if you go to a place called Narayana Sarovara, and it's called, what's it called? Where Krishna, I'll remember in a little while. Anyway, it's on the southwest end, about 2 kilometers away from Punchari. This was also the place where Krishna tried to distract or test the gopis by manifesting a Narayan form. And the only thing he got out of them was, could you tell us where Krishna's gone? And then, of course, when Srimati Radharani came, then her love was so powerful that he couldn't keep this Narayan form anymore. So that's why it's called Narayan Sarovara. Paita, it's called Paita. And it has different names, but Paita. And so Krishna came here with the cowherd boys, and there was a cave. That cave still exists. And that's how Krishna got beneath the hill. He didn't just go over to it and pick it up, but there's a cave that went underneath Govardhan Hill, and that cave's there now, although they say there's a snake, big snake guarding it, so it's covered by a big rock. And Krishna told the cowherd boys, listen, I'm going to go and I'm going to lift up Govardhan Hill. And the cowherd boys were really not into that at all. They said, this is crazy, you're just doing something that you can't do. And Krishna says, no, just trust me, I can do it. So anyway, they wanted some proof, some evidence. So they were sitting, I mean, it's raining, it's pouring rain. They were sitting under this huge kadamba tree. And they said, okay, well, listen, here, you see these big branches of the tree, knot them together. So Krishna said, okay, and he knotted them together. The remnants of that tree is still there. You can go there, and there's a nice little temple, because it's, like I said, 2 kilometers away from the hill. It's not so much frequented unless you do what Sanatana Goswami was doing, and you do the outer parikrama, which is 40 kilometers or so. I've never done that. And Krishna there went under the hill and lifted it up, and the rest is history, wonderful history. Some 7 days of very wonderful pastimes. And of course, if you've seen Little Krishna, I don't know if you've seen the Little Krishna videos, unfortunately not done by ISKCON. I've seen it about 100 times. And I was in hospital for a month, and I just had my telephone, and I was just watching Little Krishna. Plus the two Lord Chaitanya movies, Nilachala Mahaprabhu. So Krishna lifted up Govardhan Hill, and this was a very special event, a very special occasion, because no one gets to be with Krishna 24 hours a day. So this is where the term 24/7 comes from. 24/7. For 7 days, 24 hours a day, everyone was together. Cowherd men, elder gopis, younger gopis, cowherd boys, Brahmins, cows, everybody could see and interact with Krishna non-stop and all together. They didn't have to worry about what the other ones were thinking. The danger outside was too big, so they were just happy that they were here, and of course they also tried to help relieve Krishna. So Govardhan Hill is a very special place. You may remember that this was Prabhupada's last wish. He wanted to go around Govardhan Hill. And I mean, if Prabhupada had done that in his condition, I mean, if he even got there, it would have been sudden death. And at the request of some devotees, then he didn't go. He stayed in Vrindavan. But it has significance. It's not that Prabhupada just said, okay, let's go and have a picnic, because, No, Prabhupada on his deathbed, and he knows what the consequence is. He wants to go to Govardhan Hill. Nija Nikatanivasam Dehi Govardhanastam. So this is really the prayer of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Nija Nikatanivasam. Please give me a place of residence close to you. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say, we're not qualified to live in Radhakund. We stay a little distance from Radhakund in the shade of Giriraj. So Govardhan Hill is extremely significant. It's one of the favorite places that Krishna went. Krishna would go to different places in Vrindavan. Some places he hardly frequented. Some places he went a lot. Some places he went more than anywhere else. Why? Because he's a person. So you got your favorites. So Krishna has his favorites. Jamuna Tiravanachari. Jamuna was his favorite. Govardhan Hill was his favorite hill. And so many other places where he liked to do the rasa dance, where he liked to play with the cowherd boys. He had one wrestling arena underneath the Bandiravat tree, and that was his favorite place for doing that particular pastime, wrestling with the cowherd boys. So it was like a regular, I don't know if you know Indian wrestling, traditional Indian wrestling is, it's a real art, and the wrestlers are celibate. They eat only ghee, honey, and something else. So they don't even eat cook. Huh? I thought someone said something. And very, very amazing, very fit. And of course, one thing is that the whole place where they wrestle, that's all sort of smeared in ghee. Some Indian devotees seen these wrestlers? No. When you do parikrama of Vrindavan, as you're coming out of Vrindavan town, then you pass right by a school for wrestlers, and the wrestling ring is there, and they're often there practicing and very, very rigorous. So Krishna had his favorite places, and Govardhan Hill was his favorite place. One of the reasons is because it's very near Radhakund, which he favors even more than the Jamuna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they use figures like, Krishna's enjoyment in Radhakund is 1,000,000 times more than in the bank of the Jamuna. And here is Govardhan Hill. So, Upadeshamrita, Vaikuntha Janito, someone knows the verse? What?
Vaikuntha Janito Varamadhipuri, Atrapi, Govardhana, Radha Kundam, Ihapi Gopinpate,
Yamrita Slav, Kuryadasya. Yes. So he gives a hierarchy of sacred places. So let's chant this verse. You can see it, I can't, but I know it. And as I said, it's a very, very wonderful verse. that is spoken by Srimati Radharani. Okay, now open up. Hantaya Madirarabala Haridasa Varyo Yadrama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat Pani Yashu Yavasha Kandara Kandamulae. Devotees, Haridasa Varyo Radrama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat Andi Yasuya Vasakandala Kandamula Madrira Bala Haridasa Varyo Yadrama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat Shuya Vashakandara Kandamu. Some ladies, can you Haridasa Varyo Yadrama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat Ani Yashuya Vashakandara Kandamula Daya Madriya Bala Haridasa Varyo Yadrama Krishna Charanas Parasha Pramoda Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayotayoryat Shuyavasha Kandala Kandamu. Okay, let me just read the translation. Of all the devotees, this Govardhan hill is the best. O my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram, along with their calves, cows, and cowherd friends, with all kinds of necessities: water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respects to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhan hill appears very jubilant. Okay, let's repeat. Of all the devotees, this Govardhan hill is the best. O my friends, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram, along with their calves, cows and cowherd friends, with all kinds of necessities: water for drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. In this way, the hill offers respect to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhan hill appears very jubilant. What I'm going to try to speak on in the next 45 minutes is Srila Prabhupada's commentary in both, well, Chaitanya Charitamrita doesn't say really anything, but in Krishna book, and then the commentaries of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sanatana Goswami, and Srila Jiva Goswami, and then some other acharyas whose names immediately I don't remember, but they're bona fide. This is, you find in the 21st chapter and text 18. Now, the 21st chapter is called Venu Gita, the song of the flute, specifically of the Venu, which is a wooden bamboo flute. And it's very, very beautiful. Here, the gopis are gathered together in different groups because they're in different places. And this is after Krishna has gone out to the pasturing grounds. And they can hear him play the flute. Their position is that these gopis have never met Krishna. So, but at the same time, they have developed love for Krishna. They've developed love for Krishna by hearing the flute music. They've certainly heard his name because he's killed so many demons, and so he's the talk of the town. He's the village hero. And perhaps from a distance. Sort of one example that Rupa Goswami writes about is Srimati Radharani herself. And when she hears the song of the flute, she just, well, that's what the flute does. She just immediately awakens her love for the flute player. She doesn't know who's playing the flute, it's just the flute player. And then she hears this name, Krishna, which is so attractive that she is just enchanted by who could be a person who has such a wonderful, attractive name. Krishna just rolls off your tongue. And then Vishaka Devi shows up with a drawing that she made, or a painting that she made of Krishna. And then Radharani sees that, and I mean, she's already married now. And she sees this beautiful person, and she also talks about how that person comes out of the picture, and she's completely confused. You know, she confides in her friend, listen, I'm a chaste, at least I thought I was a chaste new bride, but the worst thing has happened to me. He says, what is that? Have you fallen in love with someone else? He says, it's worse than that. How can it be worse? He says, I've fallen in love with 3 people. So I fall in love with a flute player and someone whose name is Krishna and that person who's in the picture. So Lalita Devi says, no, they're all the same person. They're not different persons. So that's very sweet narration. But here the gopis have not, they're experiencing a certain type of rag, a certain type of love, and it's called purva rag. In other words, you fall in love before you meet somebody. Just somehow or another, you've come across certain impetus. It's just like Narada Muni, he used to come to the palace of Bhishmaka, and he would speak to Rukmini about Krishna. And just by hearing about him, she decided, I either marry him or I'm committing suicide. I'm not getting married to anybody else. That's the power of hearing. There was one example, similar example, that an acquaintance, I won't call him a friend, well, he was a acquaintance, friendly acquaintance, and he told me how he got married, that this girl's in their village, this girl's father came to him and said, would you like to marry my daughter? And he thought about it a little and he said, okay. He says, well, would you like to meet her? He said, well, I'm meeting you, and if I see you, that's good enough. So he said, okay, before even seeing the person. The power of just hearing, and in this case, the nature, the power of a certain culture also. Not nowadays. Well, nowadays people don't even get married, but we want to experiment and try out everything before, just to make sure that we're compatible. So purvarag, falling in love before meeting, and this is one of the 4 types of separation. So they're separated from Krishna. So, and in that ecstasy, in that prema, they are glorifying different animate and inanimate things. The bamboos growing in the Jamuna, the demigoddesses, the deer, of course the flute itself, the peacocks, they who have association with Krishna. And they say different, they describe these in different ways. When we were a young devotee, before I even joined, at that time there was such a thing as Radio Krishna, and it used to be on, it's not the whole 24 hours a day, but on the sort of contemporary radio stations, sort of the hip radio stations. These radio stations, I was listening to it in Canada, in Montreal. So they did Venu Gita, they did other excerpts from Srimad Bhagavatam. I remember killing of Varaha and so on. Not Varaha, Lord Varaha killing Hiranyakashipu. So this was all on radio. Venu Gita was very attractive. And different gopis speak. Shukadev Goswami just says, one gopi, another gopi, another gopi, another gopi. But acharyas identify most of them. And this one is specifically spoken by Srimati Radharani. I'm just reading, this is from this same Govardhan Vasa Dasakam by Raghunath Das Goswami. And he says, Girinripa Haridasha Shreni Varyeti Nama Mritamidam Uditam Sri Radhika Vaktra Chandrat. So this Haridasa, praising Haridas, Giriraj, this has come from the lotus mouth of Srimati Radharani. And Baladev Vidyabhushan, he comments that the following words came from the moon-like mouth of Sri Radhika, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Hantayar Madri Habala. It's very amazing how acharyas quote. They will very often just say, as mentioned in Padma. They don't even give the reference. just mentioned in Pamna, they're speaking to such a cultured audience. Of course, if you're writing in Sanskrit, then people are by nature very cultured, they're brahmanas. They're speaking to such a cultured audience that people would know what it is that they're talking about. In Sandarbhas there, the references are specifically given. So it starts off Hanta, which we translate as O. So this is getting the attention of the others who are there. That the gopis, they've been trying to meet Krishna. I'm trying to hold this. But they've never been successful, as I mentioned. So how is it that somehow or another we can get the association of Krishna? And now they're referring to Govardhan Hill. And the Sanskrit words that I'm quoting or phrases are the Sanskrit that the acharyas are giving. As I mentioned, mostly Vishwanath, Sanatan Goswami, and Jiva Goswami. And they say, Krishna Anuraga Vina Mahat Anuragam Na. He says, everyone knows that without the mercy of great souls, Krishna will never bestow his grace. So they're talking, yes, we can't be Krishna Das. We can't just approach Krishna directly. We have to go to Krishna through his devotee. We have to be Das Adas Anudas. And this becomes the whole point here. We need to get the mercy of a devotee. And there's a certain stage of Krishna consciousness that's called Anurag, and it actually transits into Mahabhav, which is the highest stage of love. And part of that is that one attributes life to inanimate things, talks to them, and imagines reply. This is not like that. In other words, what the gopis, although they're also experiencing that same ecstasy, but Giriraj, what they're saying about Giriraj is actually a fact, and we'll see what those are. So, okay, Srimati Radharani says, Hantair Adrir Abala Haridasa Varyu. Calls the girls Abala. Bala means strong and Abala means weak. So here this Adrir, this mountain, Haridas Savarnyo, he's the best. He's the best devotee. So we should worship him. We should worship him to get our Krishna's Sangha. Now during the Govardhan ceremony or after the Govardhan ceremony, Krishna passed this warning that every year every Vaishnav must do parikrama of Govardhan Hill and observe this ceremony of the lifting of Govardhan Hill. And if you don't, you get bitten by the snakes of Govardhan Hill. So that's like almost a similar curse to what Parikshit Maharaj got. I mean, that snake wasn't just living next door. It came from a long distance. So there are snakes in Govardhan Hill. I've seen snakes on Govardhan Hill. But nonetheless, we should, not on the basis of threats, but on the basis of following Krishna's order. So, Srimati Radharani is quoting Garga Muni, who says, Girindra eva mukhya, in the Garga Samhita, that Giriraj is mukhya. He is the best. He's the foremost. And the other gopis, that group who she's with, they agree. They say, yeah, great. We should worship Giriraj and get his association, and that way we are going to actually be able to get the mercy of Krishna, get his association. So what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go bathe in Manasi Ganga, and then we're going to go and worship Haridas. Haridev. We're going to worship Haridev, who just is very close to Manasi Ganga. It's a self-manifest deity of Krishna. But they say, well, but Giriraj is so far away. So they're married. That means these girls are in Javat, and I don't know if you've ever driven like from Nandagram to Barshana, Govardhan Hill. It's a beautiful, beautiful drive, but it's a long drive. It's a very long drive, and of course nowadays it's even hard to see Nandagram with the haze that you have in Vrindavan from the Delhi pollution that comes over there. Says, but how is it that we can worship him? How can we worship Govardhan Hill? Well, one thing is we have a setback. We've got handicap, abala. We're weak. So what does it mean that we're weak? Well, we're women. So we're under the oppression of our husbands. We can't all of a sudden start hiking. We're, going off for a picnic to Govardhan Hill. And we got work to do. So how are we going to resolve this issue of then worshipping Govardhan Hill? So this Haridasa Varya, we'll just come back to that. How is it that we're going to actually get close to Govardhan Hill? So it's a really tall order. Hari Dasa Varya, the Das of Hari Varya, he's the best. Is Govardhan Hill the best devotee? Well, Acharya says better than Nard. What's the evidence? What's the proof? Well, we see that everyone is referred to as Das. And then we've got two quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. One is about Yudhishthira Maharaj during the Rajasuya sacrifice. Haridasasya Rajarshir Raja Surya Mahodayam. He's Haridas, but he's not Haridasa Varya. And then Uddhava is also referred to later in the Bhagavatam as Haridas. So Haridasa Vrajokasam. So he's also Haridas. But here, on the authority of Srimati Radharani, and that's the highest authority, we say he's not just like any Das, he's Das Avarya. He's the best. And why Haridas? Because Hari means someone who removes someone's distress. So the servant of the person who removes everybody's distress will also remove your distress. He's also Haridasa. He will remove our distress of being separated from Krishna. So, Hantayar Adi Rabara Haridasa Varyo Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha. Now, to understand the intimacy that Govardhan Hill experiences, Rama Krishna Charana Sparasha, that the touch of the feet of Balaram and Krishna are on Giriraj's body constantly. They walk all over him. They're always there. Krishna doesn't put his feet on Uddhava. although he puts him in Uddhava's lap. They're equals. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he's senior, so Krishna offers his obeisances to him. He doesn't, certainly doesn't walk on them, and he doesn't give that kind of mercy. But now you can judge the nature of how fortunate someone is by the measure of mercy that they get. And to get Krishna's foot dust and to have Krishna's feet on your body without even asking for it. Even the gopis have to beg for it. But Giriraj doesn't beg, Krishna just comes himself. So they're very envious. We don't get that opportunity. I forget the verse. Anyway, gopis also at the end of Gopi Gita. Then they're saying, who was that scholar who was quoting the verse here? That they want to take Krishna's lotus feet and place them on their breasts. Anyone knows how the verse starts? I don't know, there's a certain curse that if you don't get the first word of the verse, you can't say the whole verse. Anyhow, so the gopis are very envious, and how is it that they're relating and speaking about something they can't see? So Sanatana Goswami says that Giriraj hears the gopis speaking about him. So, when someone's speaking about you, you usually cock your ears and then you come as close as possible, especially when they're saying nice things, which is not what always happens in Vaishnav community. But here they're saying such nice things. So he says Giriraj appears before the gopis. He just comes. He's there. So it's just like if we're talking about Govardhan Hill and all of a sudden he's in the back garden over here. And now we get to see everything. What do we see? Well, he's got the mercy of Krishna's lotus feet, Balaram's lotus feet, so he exhibits ecstatic symptoms. So, Rama Krishna Charanas Parasham Pramodat, which makes him Pramoda. He becomes very joyful, excessively joyful. Pramoda, and then Manam Tanoti Sagagogan Pani Yashu Yavashakanda Lakanda. So tears of joy are coming out. That's one symptom of ecstasy. Perspiration. His hairs are standing on end, which is a little humorous. Giriraj's hairs are standing on end. So he's got, what is his perspiration? Well, the dew. If you've been there in nighttime, it gets, because, Govardhan Hill is very close to Rajasthan desert. And it gets hot. I mean, really hot. Bharti Goswami, who lived there for many years, especially building it, they said when it got up to almost hitting 60 degrees, with no electricity, no fan, no AC, so that's hot. You don't go outside. But anyway, it gets very, very hot there. And there's this loo wind that also comes. And what are his tears? Where his tears are waterfalls. So many beautiful waterfalls. Now we don't see it. Monsoon time, you see waterfalls on Govardhan Hill. And of course, keep in mind that Govardhan Hill is much higher. There's one name of Govardhan Hill that I don't remember, which says someone who's got 100 peaks. So he has 100 peaks, and there's flags on each one of them. And Giriraj is high. It's said that his shadow, when the sun goes down, and the sun goes down behind Govardhan Hill, so on the north side, and Mathura is south-ish, so Giriraj's shadow would cast into Kamsa's courtyard. He was that big. And if you go by that measurement that they give, that, he was cursed to shrink, of course that's just a Leela, but he was cursed to shrink 1 millimeter a day. So 5,000 years times 365 is 18,000. 18,000 millimeters is 1.8 kilometers high, something like that. So 1.8 kilometers high, over a mile. It's a lot different than now. So then you can imagine there's so much more scope there. Of course, this is the eternal Giriraj, the same Giriraj that's in the spiritual world. And what are the hairs? Well, there's grasses. These are the grasses. And the anubhav of this ecstasy, one thing is he's experiencing ecstasy, but then what does he does? What is the physical expression of that? The active expression is that there are the fruits, the roots, herbs, and sweet waters. And he gives this not only to Krishna, but to the cows and the cowherd boys, because Govardhan Hill knows that, yes, if you want to please Krishna, then you have to please also his associates. So these grasses of Govardhan Hill are very important, and this is what Krishna earlier on already spoke to Nanda Maharaj, because the cows thrive on that grass. It's very special grass because it's nourished by the ecstasy of Giriraj. So the grasses themselves are extremely nourishing, and they're very desirable. These grasses are famous even in the heavenly planets, so much so that it says that the sun god comes to graze, allow his horses to graze on top of Govardhan Hill. So you can just look around there for the sun god sometime. And of course it's Durva grass, which is also used for yagya, what you greet guests with when they come, but especially it's fodder for the cows. And we have four different characteristics of this grass. Sugandha, it's very fragrant. So the cows are naturally attracted. They want to stay there. If you remember at the end of the 1 year later, after the whole Aghasura, Krishna's killing Aghasura, then when everybody was Krishna, Krishna was the cowherd boys, Krishna was the calves, then the cowherd men were grazing their cows on Govardhan Hill. They were, again, they're not just Krishna, but everybody goes to Govardhan Hill. Very fragrant. It attracts cows, it attracts horses, and of course Krishna has more than just cows. When we say that Krishna goes out with the cows, there's buffalo, and there's also goats. They're in the periphery, but they're not particularly important or that important, so we always conceive of Krishna traveling with cows and bulls. But there are also others. So it's very fragrant, sugandha, and it's sukamala, very, very soft. So I don't know if you've ever seen, but I've seen, cows, and when they go, they really go for it. And, when they're munching, and if the grass is sharp, then it can go into their mouth. Their mouths are very soft. Not that soft, but anyway, they can pierce their mouths. So sometimes you have to take that out, but that doesn't happen in Govardhan because the grass is so soft and it's so pleasant. I've seen some grass that's well watered and a certain type of grass, and the sides aren't, I'm sure that the boys, when they were young, they used to, you take some grass, you put it between you, and you blow like that, and it. So, but one of the reasons that works is because it vibrates like a reed, and because it's sharp. And actually, you can cut yourself with the edge of grass, but that doesn't happen over there. It's very, very, and Pushti Vardhana, very healthy. The cows who eat from Govardhan Hill never get sick, they never get tired, and obviously they never get hungry. So it's the milk that comes from Govardhan Hill that then Mother Yashoda selects certain cows who are also fed specially and to actually milks them, and from their milk she provides Krishna all kinds of milk products, which then he rejects and he goes and takes the neighbor's milk products. So, Dugdha Sampaka, when you combine all these three things, then the result is that they make very good dugdha. They can make very good milk, very rich, they make very wonderful ghee. In UK, they have what's called a Jersey cow, and these cows are small. Actually, they're not very big, but they have such rich, high content, fat content. Of course, nowadays the idea is that milk should have as little fat content as possible. And when I first went to England, they had 3 types of milk. Still was a milkman delivering milk at the door. And one was Gold Top. So Gold Top was the best. And you remember Gold Top milk? I don't know. Sorry, Prabhu remembers Gold Top milk. So there's Gold Top, Silver Top, and there's red. Decreasing. That Gold Top milk was, top of it like that was just all cream, just one little bottle, half-liter bottle. Really, really wonderful. And then they have of course, they have a thing like whipping cream. Everyone knows what whipping cream is. And they have something even thicker called clotted cream. That's because if you eat that, everything inside you gets clotted. It is really, really rich. So this is the type of milk products that you get, and this is the service. Service to the cowherd community, service to the cows. Paniya, so his tears of happiness, lakes, rivers, waterfalls, springs. Getting a picture of what Giriraj is like, you got waterfalls, you got the sun god, grazing his horses on the top, Krishna and Balaram running everywhere, playing with the cowherd boys. The cows are munching away and in real bliss. So they're very, very happy. And all of these things, you've got rivers. Well, the river that's going by, we've got one river, which is Manasaganga, and the Jamuna is also flowing by Giriraj, at least flowed by Giriraj at one time in the past. And making extraordinary offerings, even the rocks. Now the devotees who worships Giriraj, Govardhan Shila. We've got some ladies and gentlemen, and so you've seen we have Govardhan Shila there. But here, what are the stones? Golden rocks embedded with rubies, sapphires, and diamonds. It pays off to be a siddha if you can see all these things. But still, those rocks, when you take a stone from Govardhan Hill, the tradition is you're supposed to leave an equal weight of gold. Has anybody done that? Yeah. So, no, but still, we're worshipping, and Srila Prabhupada had given instruction. Did Prabhupada give instruction to worship Giriraj here with Radha Madhava? In London, he said Radhalandaneshwara should be worshipped with Giriraj. And all of these waters, they drink. I mean, nowadays you don't go and drink water out of Indian rivers. That's the last thing on anybody's mind. So, but this is what Krishna did, this is what the cows did. And of course, all these waters are also fragrant and cooling, and I'm keeping my eye on the time. I think we're sort of covering things, although I'm not getting into too much detail. And offer different types of beverages, fruit juices. There are so many fruits. And they make juices from the fruits. They squeeze them. Any type of fruit that you can think of, that is also there. And of course, cowherd boys are jumping and playing in the water. And they have all kinds of games, including splashing. So all of these things are exhibitions of Giriraj's prema, just like, for instance, Sveda, his perspiration. So that perspiration comes generally from different things. It's from happiness, fear, and anger. Well, Govardhan Hill doesn't fear anything. And he rarely gets angry, although he can. But he's very blissful. And he's blissful from this extraordinary mercy that he has. And these dewdrops, but not only, of course, the dewdrops, which are naturally there. It's very cold at night, it can be extremely cold at night, and then sun shines in the day, and when it comes, then it forms dew. But also, sometimes in ecstasy, Govardhan Hill's stone melts. So who's seen Krishna's footprints in Govardhan Hill? Really, there are a few of you. So there are melted stones, and it's not just in Govardhan. You can go to Barshana, you can go to the back of Nandagram. There's, oops, what happened? There's a, there is impressions of gopis, sari, anchal, footprints. There's extraordinary footprint even in Hungary. We took this one footprint of Krishna just by not far from Kusum Sarovar, when you go just inside to Pushpavan, and there's a stone, it's very clear, Krishna's footprint, and it's big. It's like that big. And there's a calf's footprint beside it. Remember, they were bigger at that time. And then if you go to Dangati, then Krishna's footprint, Radha's footprint, and they're small like that. And this is the Dam Nivartana. And there's Dam Nivartana Kund. So the stones melt. They melt for different things. They melt in ecstasy, especially when Krishna's flute playing takes place. So the nature of the flute is such, and of course this is a different topic, that everything changes its characteristics. Water freezes. It becomes a kind of special substance. The birds who are floating on the water, they're stuck in it. It's not cold like ice. It's just like some solid jelly, and it stops to flow. And similarly, the mountains, they melt. They start to flow. And again, it's not, stone melts. It melts when it's really, really hot. But here, the stones melt as a result of prema. Baladev Vidyabhushan, when he was commenting on some verse of Vedanta Sutra that has the word tapa in it, he describes different types of tapa. The tapa of the yogi, the tapa of the jnani, and then, but he says that the most intense tapa is prema. And that prema, and it gives evidence, is that prema can make stones melt and flow. So that then becomes, Girirajas becomes so ecstatic. One would think, and even the gopis are also very concerned about when, we're concerned that when you walk on Govardhan Hill, that the twigs and the pebbles, and what to speak of the thorns, that they will prick your lotus feet. But actually that's not the case. At least where Krishna and Balaram are walking and the cowherd boys are walking, Govardhan Hill, the stones become very, very soft. They're soft like cotton wool. And there's no jagged surfaces. Everything becomes smooth, just like flower petals. So, and when they're very, very small, they just all fuse together to make a flat surface. So it's very comfortable. And of course, not only that, Ushnakala shushite nanena, shitakali ushnitalena. In the summer, the stones are cool. And in the winter, the stones are warm. It's like when you sit into one of those newer cars and you can get in the seat. So they have heating. That was there a long time ago. But the new one is that you got an air-conditioned seat. So real luxury. And that charana sparasha can also be broken in a different way. Now this is Sanatan Goswami. He's the one, someone's phoning me and it's coming through my earphone. I get one telephone call a year, so I don't know who that is. Oh, I know who it is. It's the scam people in India who are always trying to sell you something. Pick up the phone. Okay. So, Yeah, Sanatan Goswami has his method. He splits words in different order. He gives different meanings. It could be like this. It could be like that. It could be like this. It could be like that. And here he says it can be not charana sparsha, but acharana sparsha. So an achar means activity. In other words, he's in ecstasy by the pastimes, by the lila that Rama and Krishna perform. And that becomes, he's very blissful, but even more blissful when that same knowledge is being distributed. So Kandara, and there's caves. Now, we usually have this Jamuna Tiravanachari, and he is Radhamada Kunja Bihari. He's the Hari, he's the king or the lion. He moves from Kunj to Kunj like a lion. And Hari also means lion. So, but it's said that the caves of Govardhan Hill are better than the Kunjas. I only know of one cave at the present time, but there were many caves at that time. And that's at the other end, just by Punchari, and that was Raghava Acharya's cave, which unfortunately has really been, it's caved in, and it was, we used to go in. You could crawl into it, and Radha and Krishna would meet there. It was tight. I don't like confined spaces. I like open spaces. But it was not a big cave. It was a small cave. You know, one person, two people go in the bottom, and that's it. And then you have to crawl out. But there were, or there are other caves, and of course the one that goes underneath Giriraj is still there. So they give unlimited pleasure. They're cool in the summertime and they're warm in the winter. When the gopas go there, they rest. And of course, for the gopis, they meet with Krishna. They have beds of jewels, Ratna Priyanka. So they have beds that are jewels, and obviously the jewels are soft. Otherwise, jewels are pretty hard stuff. And I have Ratna Pita, they have seats of jewels. Ratna Pradeep, and they have lamps of jewels. Ratna Darsha, mirrors of jewels. Smooth, glistening stone on the floor, very beautiful marble on the floor. So, and not only in the cave, but outside the caves also. There's all kinds of seating and beds, and these are also made of diamonds and rubies and sapphires and emeralds. And the cowherd boys play there, they sit in them, and the cows, they rub up against them and they scratch. So you really have a opulent lifestyle when you got a diamond chair that's meant for scratching cows. But that's Govardhan Hill. And here, when we're in this world, you know, we get a little thing like this. I always sort of look with envy at the pictures in BBC they have of the latest blue diamond, perfect diamond someone just bought for $40 million, which is very interesting because no one is going to wear a $40 million ring because there's some thieves who are going to cut your finger off or maybe even your hand. So what do? They make a replica of it and they keep the original in the safe. But what was the point? That you can't even wear the thing because it's so expensive. It's such a risk. And there's roots. So this is the roots, all kinds of roots. Cowherd boys are always chewing on roots and while they're running around, and the cows also like to eat those. And some are sweet, some are tart, some are sour. So it's a very wonderful offering. These are Giriraj's offerings for Krishna. Now here he says, Ramakrishna Charanath. Again, Sanatana Goswami says, Ramaniyaya Krishna iti Ramakrishna. Just like when we chant Hare Rama. Now Prabhupada says it could mean Lord Ramachandra, it can mean Balaram, but actually Acharyas always explain it in terms of Krishna. Radha, Raman, Ram. That's the Ram. So here also, this Ramakrishna means this very playful Krishna, and that Krishna who gets great enjoyment from his own playing, and he makes others very happy. So it may be that it's just Krishna, and Lord Balaram is not there, although one would be led to wonder, why isn't Balaram there? So he knows how to please, because Giriraj is also pleasing the cows and the cowherd boys with being a extraordinary playground, a playground where you have slides. Of course, a slide is not in Govardhan Hill. I don't know if any of you ever tried sliding down in Kamyavan. It's on Vishnu Parvat mountain, and this is the slide that they used to slide down on. Well, I tried it, and I ripped my dhoti. It was hard going. I think it must have been smoother at that time. So, by pleasing Krishna, Govardhan Hill is pleasing also everybody, because Krishna is in the heart of everyone. And of course, here we are talking about Govardhan Hill. Great poets, the Shastra is full of descriptions of Krishna's pastimes in Govardhan Hill with his different associates. And we have therefore the opportunity to celebrate Govardhan Puja and become blessed, benefited by Govardhan Hill's mercy. So we don't need a Govardhan Shila to worship Giriraj. We should hear, but you should do parikrama of Govardhan Hill. It's a must. So I've done it many times, barefoot, when some parts of it on the other side were really torture, going between Govardhan town and Uddhava Kund, or Radha Kund, which was all just asphalt road. And by the time you got there, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's hot, and it's that, or the big pebbles on the side of the roads, to take your choice. And there are people who live there, Babajis who live there, who go around daily. I mean, that's standard. And there are others who go around 2 times a day. And there was one Baba who went around 3 times a day. It's 20 kilometers, that's 60 kilometers a day. You can be sure he didn't have any extra fat on him. He is really fit, but they go quite fast. They do it in like about 2-3 hours. They just go and chant while they're going. So parikrama, Krishna's request, not just enjoying the feast, but we should also do that parikrama. And if you can't, then if you're staying here in Mayapur, then go. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur brought a whole truckload of Govardhan Shilas, and just opposite Radhakund, Yeah, up from Radhakund, just opposite Gorkishor's Babaji's Samadhi. Then you can do parikrama, very easy parikrama. You can do Dandavat parikrama. Why not? It's only about 50 yards at the most. And it's Govardhan Hill. So we've done our service and we will get the benefit. Nija Nikatanivasam Tehi Govardhanastvam. So the gopis are glorifying Govardhan Hill in this way. And after speaking in so many ways about all the wonderful services, then Govardhan Hill retreats out of view again. And they continue on. I can't remember who number 19 is. I think it's the rope, Krishna's rope for binding the cows. And so anyway, thank you. Huh? Ropes, right? Pasa. Krishna's, what kind of pasa? Some kind of ropes, yes. Okay, thank you all very much for your patience. And Bolo Giliraj Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna.